Yeah, Cache gang.
Hey, what you know good? I'm Darius Cache, and this is the Bernard Song Podcast, where pain has a voice and healing finds rhythm. In the studio, we got Christian Acock, technical moderator and a producer of the Bernard Song Podcast. We have ToriLive, beautiful, beautiful. And also, we got my son Knowledge in the background too. Yes, that's his real name. You shouldn't hear too much from him, but maybe you will, maybe you won't, whatever. So, it's been a lot on my mind as far as this past week goes. At the beginning of the week, I got the news of a tragedy concerning a family member who lost his battle with depression and took his own life. The details are still coming in, but it goes to show that check on your people. You don't know if that one phone call might be the one that might change their mind. But the fact of the matter is, life is short, and that's my cuz, that's my dog, and I really don't want to get too much into it because, like I said, the details are still coming in. But it is also World Mental Health Day was just a few days ago, or just this past weekend. So we want to take this time in this episode to further shine the light on certain issues, whether they be depression or anxiety, and maybe we can drop some helpful resources, maybe give a little bit of game that can help a person who may be going through something like that to stick around to the next day. So first, I mean, Tori, what's up? How you feel? Because Tori was actually with me, and she was with me when I got the news, and these things usually aren't foreign to us, and you feel free to jump in at any time. Like you don't really, yeah, don't wait for me because, anyway.
Yeah. I mean, mental health, depression, anxiety, things like that is something that I'm so passionate about. I write about it. I talk about it in my own content. I talk to people about it. Even me and my friends. We talked about this before. I'm from Newark, New Jersey, and I was blessed to be a part of the poetry scene out there. And I was on A Squad Rebel Radio, shows and stuff. And these were constant things that were being brought up in my circles, in my community circles, on my podcasting circles, constantly talking about this, and it's something that needs to be constantly spoken on. There was a time where mental health really wasn't a thing that was being taken serious. If you were depressed, if you were anxious, like, people told you, to get over it, or therapy wasn't a thing that was encouraged, or on top of that, I'm talking about there are layers and layers of covers on top of the trauma, because either the community at large will tell you, oh, you don't need a therapist, or, oh, you don't need to talk about it, or the church itself will tell you, oh, you just need to pray it away. But this is such a big issue and a big situation that I'm so happy that in these last, years, more and more organizations, more people, more churches, more people are just advocating for mental wellness.
Yeah, because in the hood, when you tell somebody to go in therapy, when they find out you're going to therapy, they automatically label you crazy.
Right.
Real fast.
And don't have medicine. Oh, nah, you're definitely, yeah. So it's like, it's hard. It's hard to be vulnerable.
So that's what we're talking about, suicide. And I'm grieving right now, and I'm going to, even before we get too far, I'm gonna say this now and again, and I might say it in the middle of the conversation too, but 988, it's suicide hotline, suicide prevention hotline. You can call and talk to somebody if you feel you have nobody. And even my mama, back in July, she told me she was contemplating taking her life, and it's you hear a lot of, I don't know if it's just at the age I'm at, Tori, but it's like I started to hear more and more about it. I volunteered with a mentor group, and we mentored young boys, and one of our kids is who just placed on suicide watch earlier this past week, and
that's so disheartening. I think the reason why we're hearing so much of this as we're getting older, because like we're in the same ballpark. You got 3 years on me, but it's like as we getting older, life is getting harder. Life has always been hard, but circumstances are changing. Inflation is hitting. Life is just lifing. And in these instances, a lot of people are feeling more and more hopeless. A lot of people, there's so many things that contribute to this. There's social media, and that really plays a part, because then there's that comparison game. There's that, looking around, feeling inadequate because I don't have this, I don't have that. I'm not traveling, I'm not doing, you know what I'm saying? There's so much.
I just wonder if we gotta give in to the notion that life is getting worse. Because if we taking the good with the bad, can we just say that it's just life? Yeah, it's definitely some good and some bad.
Yeah.
But I don't want to go too far into that it's getting worse, because when does it get better? How long has it been getting worse? It's like looking on the brighter side of things, or just seeing things as is, as opposed to whether it was, because maybe those who've gone on maybe 10 or 20 years ago might say the same thing.
Yeah, in their generation. Yeah, you're right. And let me recant my statement, because that is actually very negative, and I like to pride myself on being a solution-based person. So let me not say life is getting worse, but I think the realities of how difficult it can be to navigate are getting more and more real for people.
Yeah, I think as we grow, we realize more responsibility that we have to take control of our own life.
Yeah.
So once we do that, then we start opening our eyes to the evils, or the hardships. So it seems like things are getting worse, but maybe we're just getting wiser. Maybe we're just being more empathetic. Maybe we're we're just living and learning, and we starting to not take life so much for granted, maybe as much as we did 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 10 years ago, or when we were children. So life may have not necessarily have been sweet when we were children. We were just innocent. We were not necessarily ignorant, but
we were naive to the realities.
Yeah.
But I really want to sit here real quick. So social media, the age of AI, and just all of the things that we've been exposed to have definitely played a part in it. It has helped and it has hurt. It has connected us in so many beautiful ways, but it's also in some ways connected us for the worse, because now we're so much more exposed to everything.
Bad
and
information
sometimes trauma can really leak through our screens. If you're going through stuff, if you're depressed and you're looking at depressed stuff, i.e. the news itself, depressing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or, you just happen to be looking at things, you happen to see things come down your timeline, and it's RIP this one, and this tragedy happened here and there. Like, and you're already going through your own stuff. If you have an empathetic heart, right? If you are connecting to the world around you, seeing all of this trauma from other people on top of whatever you got going on is going to re-trigger you over and over and over again.
And I'm not sure
that's not helping.
I'm not sure that the algorithm is smart enough to show us solutions to our depression.
Right.
When we're going through it, it'll
But you
feed
have
us
to
more
search
of what
that.
it'll feed us more. If we already depressed and feeling a certain way, and we're spending the more time we spend on social media or whatever, anything that pretty much has an algorithm or a feed is going to show you more of that.
Mm-hmm.
That is going to confirm.
Right.
It's going to validate your feelings.
Right.
So, and it's not gonna necessarily, like you said, you gotta search for the help if that
Right.
search for help if that's what you're looking for, because it's not just gonna offer you help.
Yeah.
It's just gonna keep on feeding you
sometime it can
negative
leak
videos
through.
all day. And
Sometimes it can leak through, but you have to actively go for it, which really just leads us down the rabbit hole of my next statement, because I feel like when you're going through these things, we have to search out the solution. I think it's very important that, the solutions be out there in plain sight, but you have to put on your own oxygen mask before you help someone else, right? Meaning you have to be a part of your own rescue. It's hard out here. It's real out here. But at the same time, we can say that until we're blue in the face, but we have to actively say, you know what? I want to find a support group. I want to find somebody. And there's so many resources at the click of our finger. So my biggest thing right now that I want to say to anybody who is going through stuff, because I can personally connect to this, anybody who's going through stuff, use the device that's in front of you, and don't allow the device in front of you to make you wallow in what you're going through. Use the device in front of you to dial the number that Darius gave us, to look into support groups, to search out the help that is so out there and available. I can personally really relate to this because Darius knows, and people who are close to me in my circle, they know, like, even this year, like, right around the time of my birthday, I was feeling suicidal, like, I wouldn't be here had I not only feeling, but had really made up my mind that I was gone. Like, I was still here, I was breathing, but I was gone because I felt alone. And it's crazy because I have a lot of people around me, but you just feel that deep inner depression. You just feel there's been so much stuff that's happened in my life, and it just felt like things were just piling up and I was losing control. And when you feel like you're trying and doing all that you can, it's not working. Your mind can sometimes go left, and that's where I was. And I got so far left that I had accepted my fate and accepted the fact that this is what I'm going to do. This is what it is. But thank God for people. Community is so important. And I'm telling people, use this device, go on Google, search out the resources. But on top of that, the biggest thing is having the right community.
yeah.
Having the right community around you will pull you out of the darkness, because sometimes some things are bigger than us and we can't pull ourselves out. It doesn't matter how many Google searches we do, doesn't matter how many support groups we are a part of online. Getting plugged into the right people and allowing those people to love on you, allowing those people to look out for you. Because I'm telling you right now, had it not been for my support group, had it not been for the people around me that loved me, that would not let me isolate, would not let me be by myself for too long. Like, some of them knew where I was with it, and some of them weren't fully aware. But I know it was God who was leading all these people, like, at random times when I was deep in my thoughts about it, making plans for it, like real plans for it. People would randomly call me, randomly say, let's go out. one person invited me out to go do my nails and my toes, and I was just in the house and I was thinking hard and plotting hard on my own demise, and she didn't even know. And she just randomly called me and was like, hey, let's go get our nails and toes done. And I thank God for that, because it's in those small pockets, those
you got
small
friends,
moments that somebody comes in and like can distract you from the plan that the enemy has for you. So you got to surround yourself with the right people.
And I also want to take this time to ask you to please donate, please give to Noah's Fund. And right now, there aren't many ways to give at all except for buying a book or going on onto Noah's Fund, MHRE.org, and purchasing some merchandise or some paraphernalia. In the future, there will be fundraising events and more to go out, because one thing that's important to me, and let me say this too, is Noah's Fund for mental health research and education. So as far as the research part goes, I want to know what is some of the common factors of, like, why do people begin to get suicidal, and not necessarily kids, but maybe kids too. And I'm saying this because I feel it's just a theory, but I feel like a lot of it is money based. It's financially based, because a lot of times it comes when people's aren't able to meet their immediate needs for a lack of funds, or maybe less financial literacy, and if I think that's a problem that we can do something about, and anytime we find the root causes of solutions, then we can start. We find root causes of problems and issues, we can begin to find the solutions. So in our community, and in across the states, across the world, really. When we start to figure out, when we start to make our lives make sense financially, it'll keep us off the sort of off the edge. A lot of that is what sends us there. Because when I was talking to my mom about her feelings in from July, it was like there was she was going through financial hardship. She didn't know how she was going to pay her rent. She may have just paid her car note, but she still had other bills in the house, and trying to pay for food. The price of eggs, and it's so much stuff. You want your immediate comforts. You want to make sure you're not walking around barefoot. You want to make sure your clothes are okay, and all these different things that cost money. And we want our pleasantries of the things that we want to indulge in. It don't even always have to be drugs. Maybe even if you just like to read, even if you like to have flowers, whatever your pleasure might be, that might be considered a guilty pleasure to some, or maybe some people might feel like you might not necessarily need, that you are entitled to your level of comfort, right? Provided it's not infringing on anyone else's freedom and their rights. You are permitted comforts. You are permitted the comforts of life. So I feel like, and this is one thing that we're gonna start looking into. One of the major things that we're gonna look into, and I know studies already out there that show what are some of the root causes of suicidal thoughts, or the reasons people commit suicide, and whether it be relationships falling apart, like because of the in-house finances not being right, whatever it is.
I don't think that everything traces back to money. Now, money is a very, very big reason why someone would begin to spiral, would begin to get depressed. It can lead to, criminal activity, because you got to do what you got to do to get by, right? But there's so many other bigger factors that lead into that, because if that's the case, if it's just money, right, then why do so many people who are in places of power, who are celebrities, who have all this access to everything, like why do they do it?
Right.
You know?
So I
It's
definitely
deeper.
can. That's why I mentioned our community, because I didn't mean to I didn't mean to include like the upper crust, because they have in yeah. So
But
for
even in our
different tax brackets,
community.
it's different stresses.
Yeah.
But I'm not surrounded by those who are well to do constantly and current,
Right.
and you know, and although my aim is to you know, reach a certain like status and influence because of the way I intend to live my life, I that's a bridge I'll cross when I come to it. As far as, you know, maybe wondering why my peers may be doing what they do, when when we start again talking about the people who bringing in
Right.
$100,000 a year, maybe have $1 million deals go across the table. They
Okay.
got a different set of problems. But for those of us who are only making about $30,000 a year, up like $50,000 a year, but we got expenses that reach that much or exceed that much, so at the end of the year we in the red. I feel like you know, there's always room to explore, and I don't think that necessarily is, because I mean, even the Bible tells us that the love of money is the root of all evil.
Right.
Not money itself,
Okay.
but
So
the love of money. But it seems like a lot of our problems can. That's why governments and that's why they have like lotteries and stuff, because people. That's why money is a great incentive, because people always need money, and even aside from the need for money, they like to have money, like disposable income. Everybody loves disposable income. So
okay, so even if we're gonna look at just let's bring it back down. Let's bring it away from the well off, the people that have the money. Fine, cool. That can be a major cause. That can be the start of a whole domino effect. But then there's other things in our community that we deal with. There's so many different things going on with the children. Let's go to the kids, because the kids don't
kids are
understand.
poor anyway.
The kids don't
ain't got no
understand.
money, so they already
You know, you're not hearing me. No, the kids are dealing with deep things on the inside. The kids have, some of them have like imbalances that are already happening in their mind. Some of them have trauma. Literally, they have trauma because they may not understand the financial situation, but they know that they're missing their parent, because maybe they have one parent, maybe they have a parent, two parents that work a whole lot. Maybe they've gone through
because the parents
assault
what
in their house.
What is the financial health of the parents? Like maybe the parents weren't in the situation, or even maybe they don't have good foster parents, or so it's like,
because then that's a whole nother world. The foster care, that's a whole nother world, because then that's levels and layers of abandonment. You got to deal with the potential that like something could have happened to them along the way, because usually if you're a foster child, a lot of cases you get passed through different homes and you don't know what they're seeing in those different environments.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Like why did that child not have his parents, or why did that child end up in foster care? What was the parents going through? And I'm led to believe that the parents were having some type of financial hardship. Now the parents could very well have had mental, it could be something mental, but even still, so if the parents had something mental and they weren't able to take care of the kid, if the kid got into a different situation, were they grieving so hard for their parent and became suicidal because they didn't, what was the status of their caretakers? Because maybe their caretakers couldn't take care of them because they might not have had a solid financial foundation.
Some people, they do have a solid financial foundation. They don't have a solid emotional foundation, and that's the issue. Okay, the child gets passed on to a foster family. Cool. The foster family, they doing what they doing. Because at the end of the day, if you are a foster parent, you are getting money. You're getting funded from the state for said child that you have in your household. So you have whatever income you have, whatever side hustle you have, plus the checks that they send you every month for this child. But if you are an absentee person who only wants this child for the financial gain that you're going to get from this child, because a large majority of foster children out there, there's money that's coming in for them, but that money ain't really going to them. There's a lot of people who are career foster parents just for the fact that they're going to get that money.
So then that leaves that child with lack.
That leaves that child with lack emotionally. Financially, yes, but emotionally, the person is emotionally not there.
We just said that the kid is not benefiting from the finances.
Right.
So the kid is lacking financially, which could very well be a cause of their emotional distress as well, because their needs are not being met because
which
the parents,
is a part of the domino effect.
Right. The parent is not doing, or the caretaker is not doing what they need to do with the child with the money. So that leaves the child just just out of whack. But and that also is like, okay, if the caretakers, if they're not doing right with the money that they receive on behalf of the child, that is more than likely because they have a financial insecurity themselves. They squandering the money,
Greed.
or they buying.
Greed is a big financial insecurity.
Yes.
Living above our means is a great financial insecurity.
Yeah.
The desire, usually greed, and the desire to have more than what you need,
or are they
money.
even getting what they should have? Because I don't think we're talking about a caretaker that's driving a Rolls Royce in a big house and the kid is just out walking the street all alone. I mean, like the caretaker that is middle income, that is probably making about anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000 a year, but they have expensive tastes. Or they just like to have this and have that, and they like to have, but they're not being responsible.
You know what that's called? You know what that all boils down to? Emotional neglect. Because if you're gonna look at this child and see them as a cash cow and say, I'm gonna get this check, I have an expensive taste, so I'm gonna take this child in just for this money, it all goes to something that money cannot buy: a hug.
So then we perpetuate the cycle, and then the child is double worse off, because now not only are they emotionally distressed, now they're financially distressed, and then that child is going to grow up with those same issues. And if they never learn financial points, and they do have a child, then they pass that right along to the child, and it just keep on happening. It keep on happening because the financial issues from the caretaker or even the parent were not addressed, or they might not necessarily have been in a place where they'll find resources.
I think overall, some of this stems from societal issues, right? Let's look at money. Money, I think that's a major thing, but that lays right underneath societal issues.
What kind of societal issues?
Societal issues like this overwhelming need in America to have such an abundance of stuff that we don't even look at every day. You tell me all the time, I have so much stuff, I have so many shoes, I have all this going on. And I do. But you know what? Now, some of this, we got to look at ourselves. We got to do a lot of introspection and try to, fix our own self. But I'm just speaking in general, right? I feel like the grand population of America, we are over consumers. We have extreme issues with greed. Yeah. So it really doesn't boil down to so much of it's really a financial issue. It's a mindset issue, and it has to do with how we as society value life, value resources, value the next person. Our value system is shot as a country and sadly as a world. So it goes back to something bigger than money, because money is just a currency.
Yeah.
Money is just a energy.
And even money loses value as time goes on if you don't invest it. If you have the $10,000 10 years ago would have bought a whole lot more than $10,000 today would. So if a person got a whole bunch of if a person got a whole bunch of possessions, or we're not even just gonna say a whole bunch of possessions. We just like when we buy things, they are automatically not valuable.
Right.
So
kind of like when a car drives off the lot.
Yeah. So when we talking about money, if people are not knowledgeable in ways to invest their money or invest their money in themselves so that they can create more of it, then what they have bought is a rock.
Right.
And it doesn't even if it's something that's beneficial for us for the time being. It's a laptop right here in front of me that I might have paid $150 for. If I never use this laptop to make more money, or then it becomes a rock.
Right.
And whether it's anything that we have in this studio, whether it's microphones, the telephones, whether it's monitors or screens or any of these panels, anything that we buy, it's pretty much a rock. Even the socks on our feet, we get a different type of value out of them.
Right.
But we can't unless they're like some designer socks. You know what I mean? It's gonna be sold for lower than what we bought. We can't. If what is the resale value of the things that we have? That pretty much determines how focused or our spending is. What is the resale value? When we buy something, does it still hold value? Like gold. If you buy some gold typically has been increasing in value. Mm-hmm. So when we buy things, we should be buying them with the thought that, and I don't never want to get into telling people what they should buy, what they should have, and nothing like that. But we just talking about just financial, just from the financial aspect. What are things that people can do to help themselves out of their bind? And I'm like. So the other night I met John Hope Bryan, and one thing about him that got me, the quote that he says, or the one that just stuck with me the most, is that financial literacy is a civil rights issue of this generation, and I tend to agree because things like credit, it sets you free once you get better with money, and that means being able to live with less while still having money invested in different places, and being able to see your future and that future be bright. Because some people see their future like my cousin who just took himself out. Obviously, he did not see a bright future for himself. He felt like if he keep on going, it's just the days are just gonna get worse and worse and worse. There was no light at the end of the tunnel for him, right. and the root of that for him was finances. The man went through job after job after job. My mama, the same thing. Stuff just wasn't adding up. So as adults, there are things that we can do. I will always say it till my face turn blue. There are things that we can do, and it comes down to managing our money. And because these jobs ain't gonna pay much more than $10, $12, $15, $20 an hour, but your expenses can add up to a whole lot more than that once you add up your basic expenses and then the things that you like to have. You got things that you got, like your needs and wants. Once your needs and your wants start exceeding your ability to generate income, then you have a problem. I'm not saying it's a problem that's unfixable. I'm not saying I'm not saying it's a character flaw. It's something we don't necessarily think about because we like what we like and we want what we want. And that does not make us bad people. It's just a lot of times we don't have the information that we need.
I feel like the value, the way that we place this value on a currency and energy exchange, right? Finances. The way that we value a dollar shows a lot about the way that we value ourselves. Mm-hmm. And this is coming from me, a person who has squandered so much money, has blown so many credit cards, has sunk my credit multiple times. But I'm saying this because I know it to be fact. When we don't really find the value in ourselves, we tend to put things and experiences and food and all these shopping trips and all the things that we can, the hair, the makeup. Now, I'm not saying that we can't have these things, and I'm not going to say that I don't still buy these things, but like I'm trying to learn how to make better choices to get these things in a way that's not going to destroy me. Because what I was ending up doing was purchasing all these things because I could. Because sometimes when you have no control over some of the things that's going on in your life, you operate with the things that you do have control over. So if I have $50 in my pocket, I have control over what I'm going to buy with this. I need to find something to buy with this, because buying that thing is going to make me feel better about me, because I don't feel better about me already. How I look at myself, how I value myself. A lot of us put our value in what kind of car we drive. We put our value in how much is our home and how much is our nails and all that stuff. And when you really get down to the nitty gritty of it, what I'm trying to say to you is that, and you're very passionate about finances, and I appreciate that about you, but the greater issue that we're looking at here is that finances is a subcategory to societal issues and our inner traumas.
And I totally agree, because you made a great point about money and currency, and you also showed me a video the other day of a guy holding, what was that he had, a bell pepper? Was that what it was?
I think so. It was like some little habanero pepper or jalapeno.
So before we had actual paper currency, there was
Bartering.
bartering. Yeah. Your crops. You grow something, whether it be tobacco, sugarcane, cotton, soybeans. You have this crop, and you trade it for what somebody else has, whether it be weapons, whether it be tools like hammers and axes. Now, it goes back to our needs and our wants, and what we were willing to get out of bed, or back then, people they got up and they went to work, because if, like the saying go, if you don't work, you don't eat. Now we have money that is the equivalent. We take money and we buy the same things that we would have traded to get, but either way, our hands are supposed to be doing the work. And which meant that a lot of times people were capable. That's why in some countries they cut your hand off because when you steal something, because it's like, why would you use your hands to steal when you could use your hands to create or work? And yeah, so like people who, like the guy in that video, and there are people we know who garden. Gardening is therapeutic.
It is.
They partake in farmers markets or not necessarily bazaars, like in America we don't necessarily do bazaars, but we have outdoor markets, and we exchange that for money. We take seeds, we grow something, and we exchange it for money, and it seems like people who do that, they seem to be much more at peace. Seem to, because it takes time to plant a seed.
Look at Khalees. Like, she's a perfect example. One of the perfect examples. Have you seen her on social media?
I've seen her not in her garden. I haven't seen her being actively in the garden.
Yeah, she has a farm, has a garden. She does all this nature stuff. She
peace.
Just seems so happy, so free. She looks so beautiful.
That is peace and patience and stepping away from the rush of life, because it takes time to water a seed and wait for it to grow. To acquire the seed, to plant the seed, to water the seed, to weed,
right?
To keep the garden fresh. All that is.
But those are people who have stepped away from the mundane run of the mill, the rat race, the going. People like her who. She was like all in the music industry and everything. She took a huge step back from all that and decided, this is my life. I want to live a nice little quiet life. I want to own this farm and plant my own vegetables. And I'm pretty sure she does other things, on the side, is getting other royalties, whatever, however she's getting her money. But she's doing something that feeds her soul. And that's where that happiness and the peace is coming from, right? Now, we know that we have peace through the peace of God, right? But anyway, so the peace and stuff that she's getting is because she's taking herself away from the pollution and the smog that's over here. Because over here in the city, we're just trying to run, go get it, go get more of it, which is exactly what I was saying. It is a societal issue. Because she's moved herself further this way, away from what society tells us that we have to do. And she's just kind of vibing on her own terms and living her life in a more peaceful, calm, quiet, out the way type of way. She understands, I don't need to do all this extra stuff to get peace and happiness. I got my family, I got my garden, I have ways to bring in my income or whatever. I'm good. I'm actually good. I'm actually happy. People who garden, people who are farmers, right now, farmers are really going through it right now with everything that Trump is doing. We praying for y'all. But in general, people who, like, that's their livelihood, they're farmers, they have all this stuff going on. Those people, don't they tend to be more healthy? Don't they tend to be more happy? Don't they tend to be more at peace? Isn't the mental illness kind of like down in that population of people?
Yeah, they tend to have the luxuries of life minus gluttony.
Societal pressures to have this and do this and be this and all this. And that financing goes right back to everything I was just saying. Yeah. Societal pressures.
They're able to get their level of comfort without being gluttonous. And
society will drive you to do some crazy things if you follow it.
And when you feel like doing those crazy things, pick up the phone, go somewhere, dial 988.
Right.
When you reach your wit's end and you don't have a friend.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to be studying more. That's the research part of Noah's Fund for Mental Health Research and Education. Mm-hmm. The education part is to provide grants and scholarships for college level students who are attending mental health related courses.
One thing that I will say, I've been talking about moving away from the things, the demands and the pressures of the world that we live in. And I've been throwing out a lot of things. Call this number, do this, Google this, get with this community. And all of those are valid. But I would be remiss if I did not say that the greatest thing that we can do to step away from societal pressures and the things that would drive us closer to suicide, right? The biggest thing that you can do to move away from the pressures of society is following God, choosing to build that relationship with Christ and stepping away from everything that the world tells you that you need. Because for real, what you need is a relationship with Jesus Christ. That's everything that I stand on, and that's what I truly believe. And when we begin to understand that, no matter what the world throws at us, yeah, as Christians, we get depressed, we get anxious, we go through things, but we also know that there's hope, that there's somebody who is standing in the gap for us and with us, and that's Jesus. So if you don't have a relationship with him, I strongly urge that you reach out to him, that you take time in your quiet space to pray and ask God to give you the strength and the direction so that you can defeat the giants in your life.
Please give and donate to Noah's Fund for Mental Health Research and Education. There are not many ways to do that right now outside of purchasing the book. We would love it. All the books else from Darius Cache go to Noah's Fund for Mental Health Research and Education. I have 6 books. One is a children's book. Buy the book for your first and second grader and purchase merchandise. It goes a long way towards our studies of this. There will be fundraising organizations, there fundraising events that will be organized, and there will be more ways that we're going to be visible in the community in the future. And I would thank you in advance for that. Thank you, Tori. It's ToriLive, y'all. If you don't know about her daily nuggets, you got to get up on her daily nuggets. Hashtag the Daily Nugget with ToriLive. Christian, thank you. I'm Darius Cache, and this is the Bernard Song Podcast, where pain has a voice and healing finds rhythm.
Yeah, Cash Gang.